Well, welcome back, everyone. This is Charlie Pankey, Sierra Right Now podcast. Thank you for being part of our day and part of our story today. We are excited to have you here today, wherever you're at. We hope the Sierra is in your future. And today, I have got a treat for you. If you've been following me on the magazine podcast for years, you know that right out my back door is Alpine County, which is one of my favorite places to play. It's my daily retreat on the weekends. If I don't have any plans, I'm heading to Alpine. There's so many things to do. And today I have Owen White with me from the county. We're going to be talking all things outdoors, all things Alpine County. It's just this beautiful part of the country. And if you don't know where it's at, you need to stick around and listen today because there is a world for you to be introduced today. It's one of my favorites. So, Owen, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on. Definitely excited to share a little bit more about Alpine County. It is an amazing space that we have out here. And
We are
yeah, just
excited to have you here. You guys have a big summer. You guys have great summer things. Ebbets Pass opened just 2 weeks ago for over Highway 4. Obviously, winter season, you guys have all the winter stuff up there, but you guys have got to be getting prepped up for the Death Ride, right? 'Cause Death Ride is July, and you guys spend the whole month kind of getting ready for it, correct?
But yeah, and I mean, even some of that starts just months in advance. But yeah, this next month will be our ramp up to that death ride, July 11th, 12th. And it's one of our big events that brings a lot of people in to actually get to see a lot of Alpine County in one day. And we were even today just going over some of our weather systems because, as you know, coming out here so much, it's a very unique county with lots of conditions that can change through the day, but also beautiful, beautiful geography.
Yeah, what is it? The something of the Alps. When I first moved here, they said you guys are the Alps of the Eastern Sierra. Is that how they said that?
Yeah, it's one of the kind of definitions and connections to the area that has inspired its name, Alpine County, but also that as you come up, especially in springtime or winter, you're coming out of the high desert, most approaches on the eastern side.
Hmm.
And it just feels like you're rising up to these jagged 10, 11, 12,000 foot peaks with snow dusting them and then swooping down into these river valleys, lush greenery.
Yeah, we're sitting here today. As a guest, you guys will be listening to this in a couple of weeks here, but we're sitting here Memorial Day weekend. I can look out my front window. I can see the peaks in Alpine County from my house, which is a blessing for me. There's still snow on them, but they're coming down. I was just on the east fork of the Carson River a couple weeks ago for the first raft ride trip of one of our sponsors, and got to ride that river there out of Markleeville, which was completely awesome. You guys have such a variety. Owen, you've been there for a couple of years. What's like your favorite recreational thing to do in Alpine County? Where do you go first when you get out of the bed every day?
Definitely one thing that is nice that is accessible year round is Hope Valley, heading up 88 as though you're leaving from Minden Gardnerville up towards Kirkwood. It is this space of just lush open meadows, and in winter it's full of snow. So if you like to snowmobile or cross country ski, you can play. Even I've seen snow kiters out there riding around on their boards and skis, playing with the wind. And then this time of year is one of my favorites. I think every week I've spent at least a few days up there with being along the west branch of the Carson, which we have originate through there a little bit further back at Lost Lakes. The just twisting and braiding of the river through the meadows. The fishing is beautiful. I always get to see either bobcats, raptors in the sky, some bears, and it just is one of my favorite spaces.
Also, incredible wildflowers up there in that meadow in the springtime. I love the park along 88 and hike back to the river and just walk along the river, just picking up geese and wildflowers and the snow peaks up on Red Peak and stuff. I mean, you've got such a variety of landscape. With snowmobiling this year for the first time out there, we had a guy take us out in Blue Lakes area and go snowmobiling, which is the first time I've ever been that far back in the wintertime. It was such a gorgeous area anyways. Yeah, I know at springtime you will go camping up by Burnside Lake and go up in the dirt roads there, and you got the aspens up there, which are beautiful. So there's so many different things. I feel like I go anywhere with the show today because like we can do it all, right? So you guys have got a summer planned. We got Bear Valley. I saw this weekend they have some trail days coming up. Last time I spoke to someone at the county there, you guys were working on some trail network growth in the county as well. Do you have any updates on trails or where trail conditions are right now as we head into June?
Yeah, so our ATA, Alpine Trails Association, is really big here. Usually every week they're doing some work on our trails that have, regular traffic as well as trying to revitalize some that have more faded with time. as in a county with 96% wilderness and wild places, it's a little harder to get to some of the points out there, especially being up here at the end road of the town up in the state park, Markleeville. Grover Hot Springs has its main waterfall trail leading up to Burnside Lake, like you talked
Yes.
about, and Charity Valley. That's, again, some more chipping work done on it. The lower section had a few trees down, but most have been moved out of the way, and any of the shifting kind of mud or decomposed granite has as well been managed. And then going up to Charity Valley, it's still a little bit rougher. There's getting towards that. The Thornburg Trail as well is another big one. Beautiful if you can get the chance to do it either from the top or the bottom or an out and back. That only had a few trees the last time I went up a week ago. That had more freshly fallen at the start, but then was clear the rest of the way up, especially as you get into that back canyon and
That's good to
very
know.
unique rock formations.
Absolutely. The rock formations in Alpine County, if you're not familiar, it is such a unique area because they've got this mix of granite and volcanic that really makes a quite a unique hike. You know, if you're just hiking on trails, go through one area and you're walking going, where did all this volcanic come from? I didn't know we were in volcanic country. And then you walk around the corner and you're climbing up a granite slab, right? It's like it's this beautiful mix inside the country. You got red dirts and gray dirts and green trees, of course, everywhere in the wildlife. So it's pretty fascinating. The volcanic is that come from the Tahoe area from the old days of Tahoe? Are there volcano remnants in Alpine County?
So some of the big ones you mentioned, it was Bear Valley and Kirkwood. They're both across the Mokelumne Wilderness and the river basin from each
Okay.
other, and those are both older volcanic features. They've pretty much, if you go up there, you'll see very distinct, almost pyroclast or these mixed rocks, as you might think if you see concrete with aggregate mixed in. It's
Yeah,
these
exactly.
different boulders and chunks, and so it gets very funky shaped. I've even found probably about a rock arches out in the wilderness.
Really? I have not
Throughout,
seen those around here. Great.
yeah, throughout Silver Peak, Raymond Peak, Reynolds Peak, and then out near Bear Valley. But yeah, those two larger volcanic features at one point created this larger flow that then had some offshoots and tubes that have impacted a lot of Alpine County. And then, as erosion does with time and flow, it exposed some of that deeper granite, which would have been more at the heart of those volcanoes.
Well, interesting. I'm learning new stuff today. This is awesome. And I've been playing it up there forever. That's really cool. Now, Kirkwood in Alpine County?
Yep, it's just at our border.
Okay.
On that west side, same with Bear Valley. They're both kind of just on the edge of it. And then as soon as you start to go down that western slope past them, you drop into Calaveras.
Gotcha. That's good. No, I love going up to behind Caples Lake to Immigrant Lake in the spring. Yeah, it probably a little early now. There's probably still a lot of snow going up there. I've done it this early before, and that's quite a trek in the snow. But you get about 3 more weeks, and the water will start coming down that slope, and that lake's still half frozen. It's just beautiful up there.
Oh, yeah. I was up at Red Lake yesterday, and there was still some ice on the lake. It was starting to thaw out on the edges. And then Caples as well was a little bit frostier, still, ice coming up to some of the shore. So I think Winnemucca and Immigrant might be a little longer, but
A little bit longer, maybe July 4th.
yeah.
But beautiful country. As the bikers are coming to you, we can bounce all over the place here, but I think about Waterfalls right now in the county. I know right there below Desolation Lodge. They call it Desolation Lodge or Desolation Cabins right there in 88.
Yep, a Desolation Lodge,
Lodge,
which
okay.
was Sorensen's or is still considered in the Sorensen's track.
There you go, the Sorensen track right there. That waterfall coming off the highway is really gorgeous right now. It's usually exploding from the West Fork. And then there's if you go up Highway 4, right as you're starting to climb up into the campground, there's that Silver Creek comes down, that under plunge goes right underneath the bridge, which has got a great secret hot tub or a little cold tub. If you go there in the middle of summer, you can get right in it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then, in the Carson-Iceberg wilderness, there's all kinds of waterfalls. If you're willing to do a little bit of hike off the road there, lots of different places to find little waterfalls. Any other secret waterfall spots? Grover's. Don't forget Grover's. Grover's has a great hot spot, right?
Grover's is a great one, and that's definitely very family friendly. A lot of ability accessible. It's gradual up to it, and at the very end, it has that great like 15-foot plunge into about a 7-foot deep pool, sandy bottom, which is really nice in a granite pool, so you're not
Yeah.
slipping as much. And yeah,
Yeah, the
I
secret like Grover's, if you haven't been to Grover's, if you get to Grover's hot spring, most people get to the waterfall. If you climb up on top of the waterfall and go back about another, it's not even a quarter mile. There's actually even another waterfall even further back in the canyon. And there's not really a trail there. You just kind of follow the river back, but it's kind of more of a wider, you know, plunge off a piece of granite, which I really enjoy back there. The dog and I usually go back there and sit, and we might see 2 people back there versus 15 at the bottom waterfall.
Yeah. And if you do get there in that higher spring flow, it's really amazing because you actually get that rooster tailing or off that main slab. It almost kicks up in the middle and just
Yeah.
sprays a little bit more. Which, yeah, the sound of it is fantastic.
That's pretty awesome. Now, Markleeville, obviously, about 3 years ago, we had the Tamarack fire come through, and claps to the fire department for saving Markleeville because the fire went all around. Last year, I got to go up with a group, and we started replanting trees there near Turtle Rock, up on the hill that we were planting sugar pines, I believe. I know there's big tree effort of replanting in the valley, and I've even heard secrets that they're putting new trails in from Turtle Rock, maybe to Grover's Hot Springs. How things going with recovery? Where are things at with the county? And you got the thoughts on recreation and how we can be involved in something like that?
Yeah, so that's something that reaching out, especially to Alpine County's Chamber of Commerce, they organize Arbor Days or planting days. Same with the Alpine Trails Association. Those two are really great contact points for those days. And then, as well, wider resources for doing and helping with that conservation and restoration effort. The impact from the Tamarack fire is definitely noticeable, especially if you came in past years, but it is coming back. Like, even in the last few years, it feels like each spring it's filling out a little bit more. The understory is growing up. We're getting more of these young trees filling back in. More of the manzanita is coming back, and some of that lower brush. And then I know, at least for myself, as someone that loves to forage, the mushroom foraging has been fantastic after
Okay.
the fire, especially as a lot of these trees, either standing or falling, have started to get consumed or broken up. You get a lot of great, or just beautiful homes for the bugs and birds, and that's bringing in, with each season, it almost feels like another wave of more raptors, more songbirds, and then with that, bring in more smaller mammals. We actually had a few ermine, which, if you don't know them, one of the most beautiful small weasel creatures. They go from
Okay.
a brown to a pristine white up here in the Meadows and up by the state park. That was just, oh my gosh, something that literally every time someone witnessed them bounding around, it almost like stop and freeze. People were like, "Oh my god, is that real?" Like,
That's awesome.
yeah,
I mean, that's what's really cool about Rebirth, right? I just came from the Dixie Fire last weekend, and we saw the Rebirth up there. There's lots of deer repopulating, and they come back and they love that underforage as it regrows in the trees. One of the things I'll mention up there, and maybe I don't know if you have any insight or not, because I don't know if the county's involved or if this is natural, but over the last, let's say, 5 years, I've noticed a lot more beaver activity in Alpine County, especially up the west fork of the river and go up towards Red Lake and stuff. There seems to be a lot more activity of beavers in the county than I remember 10 years ago, for example, or 15 years ago. And I don't know if that's maybe that we're helping them county wise, or if that's just natural beaver habitat reclaiming what they used to have over years.
Um, I don't know of anything particularly with the county. I do know of some university grant supported programs that have had people coming out and just working with the watersheds and making those habitats a little bit more accessible to creatures, which then is making it more inviting to beavers. Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, I saw, well, actually 2 days ago, I saw one paddling along the river, and then 2 weeks ago, one moving to a lodge in Hope Valley.
That's
And
cool.
they're becoming, yeah, as you said, more and more prevalent. And as I've talked to people that have lived here their whole life, it's even them feeling a moment of, oh my gosh, there's
They're back.
these
Yeah.
new residents coming back.
Yeah. It's really kind of cool. I mean, I know that that's one of those creatures that has some controversy. Some people you're scared of them, other people, but beavers there's such amazing water, conservation efforts that can be pointed right towards beaver activity and bringing back wildlife and get, water tables staying in stables and stuff. I'm a big fan of them. So I got geeked every time I see a new one up there. I was up way up towards Red Lake. last fall and stumbled across one I didn't know was up there. I stayed there for a long. Never saw the beaver just when they're in the pond, and all of a sudden I turn around. There's a huge crane fishing right next to me. He didn't know I was there, and I'm going watching this. I go, that wouldn't have been there without that beaver dam. That was really pretty awesome. So, pretty cool thing to do up there. As far as getting ready for summer, campgrounds and stuff, we're getting into early June here. What are campgrounds looking like in Alpine County for going camping or getting outdoors?
So right here in Markleeville, our county and supported campground right outside of town as you're heading up Highway 4, it has 2 sites that have been flooded out, but the other 5 are doing all right. They're definitely, a little closer to the water side, which can be a perk for some. Up in Grovers, they've got both full loops open, so 76 sites. The Hope Valley campground, the first one on Blue Lakes Road is open. All I know is that the host got in the last few days. I don't know if there's going to be any restrictions on sites. And then any further ones, like up towards Woods Lake or Caples, are still a little bit inundated with snow.
No, yeah, we had some good snow in the central part of the Sierra. It feels like down the valleys we're a little low, but every time I went to the central Sierra, like around the spine, where Caples Lake and all this, there's lots of snow up there still. So we have some melt to go through for the next month probably here.
Yeah, and that'll definitely be a good benefit. It nicely extends our spring and makes those wildflowers unless you get the waves as you go up in elevation. The Bear Valley campgrounds, I haven't heard any update on. And then as well, along Highway 4, a lot of the side access dispersed camping, you're definitely getting still muddy or snowy conditions.
Yeah, definitely muddy. I was up there, like I said, the weekend opening weekend was about 2 weekends ago, and there was still plenty of snow, but you could get into some spots, but definitely muddy. It was there was water sitting on the shoulders for sure. So, and Lake Alpine at that point was only half thawed.
Mm,
I had half the lake was thawed, the other half was ice. So it's like, but like Utica and Union Reservoir, which I'm not sure in your county, that's kind of around the border right there. They looked thawed from up on Cape Horn Peak or whatever that is up there.
yeah, yeah. As you're coming kind of towards that Highland Lakes area, which that's another beautiful campground, but the road is still
Love
closed.
Highland Lakes. Yeah, yeah. That road probably wouldn't be open for a couple more. I would assume July 4th, maybe.
Yeah,
That
maybe. Though I know last season, definitely that mid section of the road away from that cow camp was pretty rough. If you have the clearance and the 4-wheel drive, you can get out there.
yeah.
But for a lot of others, it's definitely a rough road.
Well, let's switch for get quick here. Just because I want to make sure we cover them because I love both the wilderness areas in Alpine County. They're so pristine, and they're be honest with you, they're not visited that much. Especially only after a couple miles, there's like nobody there. So you guys have the Carson-Iceberg Wilderness, which is kind of that southern, I don't know, the southeastern corner of your county, and then Mokelumne, which I say wrong. Did I say it right? That Mokelumne,
Yeah, that's
because
the
that's kind of the
eastern.
central of your county there. What is your relationship with wilderness, and how does the county work with the wilderness area? I mean, I'm not even sure what your role in maintaining wilderness is from that standpoint.
So, with the Chamber of Commerce and the county, a lot of it is redirecting and helping people reach resources as the wilderness is managed federally, and same with the National Forest. But the Mokelumne and the Iceberg Carson are beautiful, fantastic wildernesses. I've gotten to explore them from almost all sides, northeast, southwest, and I even have a pack rafting trip for this Carson-Iceberg. This hopeful next few weeks I can get out there.
Nice.
But the beautiful part is the Carson River, which flows right down to you, originates right in both of them. The western one, right on the edge of the Mokelumne Wilderness and the PCT, and the eastern side, right up under and close to Sonora Pass, if people know that area, in the Iceberg Carson Wilderness. And they are beautiful, as you said. You get out there, after a few miles, it just drops away.
Yep.
And
That
like
east fork in the Carson-Iceberg Wilderness, if you get back there 7-10 miles back in, that river is so beautiful. I'm talking about wild and scenic. You know,
mm-hmm.
you can literally see bears on the shore if you're floating down. It's a beautiful area to have be back there by yourself. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
definitely recommend it to anybody
Yeah. So let's say if you're going Carson-Iceberg Wilderness, if you want some tips for me for being a long term, I love going in Carson-Iceberg Wilderness in Wolf Creek. Wolf Creek drainage is once it opens up is this beautiful valley back there. There's a really simple trailhead kind of at the northern edge that follows the Wolf Creek up the canyon. And then on the southern side, you cross Wolf Creek and you got to go up the Highland route. It's a little longer route, but the Highland route will take you up on the ridges and then drop you down the river about 7 miles back. Actually, you actually loop back along the river if you want. It's a great afternoon hike or backpacking trip if you got a permit for that one. I know some people love to come in Carson-Iceberg more from the Highland Lakes area. They'll go up the Highland Lakes and come in from that north side as well. Never done that one particularly myself, but like there's Bear Lake up there and a couple other different routes. And then obviously on the Mokelumne, everybody loves Winnemucca Lake, 4th of July Lake, PCT route is really common, right? But you talked about the Thornburg Trail, Thorn.
Yeah, Thornburg Canyon.
Doesn't that go back right to the edge of the wilderness or get into the wilderness itself?
Yep, it will connect to a little bit of the Carson-Iceberg Wilderness and kind of where it almost joins or touches to the Mokelumne.
Gotcha.
We starts on both ends in National Forest. It's really great if you want to do a top down. You can start up on Blue Lakes Road right near Dalgoek Peak, which is this beautiful volcanic thumb just seemingly, rising out of nowhere. And then the trail winds down and drops right back to Markleeville.
Okay.
Yeah, it is, I think, just under 10 miles one way, about like 8.7, if I last remember. I tend to always, though, whenever I do these, let me go check out this rock, or, ooh, that's a really beautiful tree. And
Exactly. You're following those volcanic canyons, right? So,
yeah.
and you talk about the other route that I almost always forget, but if you just follow the PCT from Blue Lakes Highway over to Highway 4, there's a gorgeous route, just PCT route, which technically for big hikers can be done in a day, but it's a great one night backpacking trip. Stay in the middle, and there's actually a lake up on top that has golden trout in it. So, there's a whole secret of lakes and chains that you can follow back there as well, which is quite gorgeous area to play in. So, besides hiking and biking this summer, Death Ride. How many people come for the Death Ride? By the way, Death Ride is kind of huge. It's amazing.
Yeah, so some of our top numbers have been almost about 2,000, 1,600. But then we've also gotten probably I think so far this year, like a couple hundred leading up to 1,000. So it can be a big increase to our town because it's not just those riders, but their families or spouses or partners or kids, and just kind of.
Yeah, and Markleeville's not that big, right? You guys, I mean, you're a small town with a couple restaurants, a little store, post office box, obviously Chamber of Commerce. I mean, you got the campground at Grover's, which I'm sure is packed. Is Turtle Rock back open yet? Are they able to stay at Turtle Rock?
No, Turtle Rock won't be open yet.
Okay.
The Markleeville campground will be hopefully a lot more of the Blue Lakes campgrounds and Hope Valley area, as well as up Highway 4 a bit more, like Silver Creek is a
Silver Creek, yeah.
campground.
And there's a lot of dispersed camping up Highway 4 too that people take over for that event. How about volunteerism? You guys being such a small county, Death Ride's got to take a ton of volunteer work. Is there still opportunities for people to volunteer for that event?
Yeah, we always are happy to have extra volunteers. And the best part is it is up to what your ability is and what you want to and do are interested committing to. As you can be stationed at one spot, or if you have the resources and ability, you can be more of one of our people moving between or helping provide extra resources to the riders. We have, bike techs to medics to general volunteers, just keeping an eye out because these riders sometimes get so locked in on a flow that maybe they're not checking in on their hydration because we are a high altitude county and that sunshine.
And the route changed a couple of years ago, so now you guys don't do the same route, but you still have the same amount of climbing. Matter of fact, they go all the way back to Mosquito Lake now, if I'm not mistaken, right? They go through two lifts over 4, and then the lift over 89, if I'm not correct. I'm not using the right term there, lift, but the climb.
Yeah. Actually, all the way to Alpine Lake this year.
All Alpine, okay.
Yep. So it'll be Monitor and then Ebbets Pass, and then Pacific Grade, which is kind of that next little pass after Ebbets before you get to Alpine, and then coming back before doing a ride up to 88. And
Got it. Okay.
yeah,
That it's
I
an
love that
incredible.
timing. 5 passes.
5 passes in one day. They start and you see those guys out there for weeks beforehand. I'll start seeing them here in a couple of weeks. As they go up Ebbets Pass and go, dang, they're out here already. It's pretty impressive what they climb, and I don't even know if there's competition for half the guys. They're just it's more of the mental challenge to defeat it, right?
Well, yeah, it's a big one, especially because it is a ride, not a race.
Mm-hmm.
We end up with a lot of people just out for whatever their ability or what they would like to do for their mental challenge. Some it's one pass, some it's all five. Some are riding to the race, doing the ride,
Yep.
and then riding all the way back to wherever they're staying.
Well, let's talk. Let's talk. You're not gonna believe it's almost our show's almost up. We're gonna go late today, folks. Stick on, and we got more stuff to share with you. But guests coming in who still aren't familiar with Alpine County, let's go and give them some geographic region. Here in the Carson Valley, we have 88 goes right up to Alpine County. You're our neighbors. Got Tahoe. Yeah, would come down the 89 over Luther Pass. It would drop you right into Hope Valley from South Lake Tahoe. From Jackson on the west side, Jackson is 88 over, and then Highway 4 is Calaveras. Is that Calaveras right there? Murphy's area? Take Highway 4 over. And if you haven't done Highway 4 before and you've ever wondered about Ebbets Pass, yes, there is about a 12 to 17-mile section. It's basically a one-lane road. It's the most gorgeous road in the Sierra, in my opinion. You got to drive it. It can be scary if you run into a big old rig, but it is wide enough for 2 cars, I promise.
Yeah,
But it's absolutely a stunning drive, fun to drive, and there's a ton of recreation up there. If you like to hike and backpack and just take pictures of cool stuff, I mean, it's a must do in my book. But hey, Owen, there's so much more I want to share about Alpine County. Let me give you a moment here. Anything else the chamber would like to get out for people this summer for Alpine County that's kind of important to you guys? Let people know what to do right now for the summer.
yeah. Just always feel free to drop into the chamber, check in with us. We're trying to provide you whether it's the best, information on the fishing, the hiking, the four-wheeling opportunities in the county. We're trying to keep as much information up to date and ready for you, so you don't have to go digging through all this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, come on out. It is a fantastic county, but do be prepared. We, one, don't have any banks or ATMs, and it's helpful to have some cash. There is one gas station on the east side, one on the west side. The Kirkwood one is no longer operational, but if you come prepared, you can have an amazing time out here. And there is not any major groceries. We have a few small convenience things, but it's very worthwhile to be prepared to come out to this wild, rugged space.
It's one of these places, folks. I always tell my friends, if you want to go hang a hammock in the trees and not see anybody the rest of the day, in Alpine County, I guarantee you can find it. You maybe not right along the main routes where everybody's at, but if you want to try and you're willing to walk 600 yards sometimes, you can literally not see anybody the rest of the day. You can simply disappear and be in nature. You think you're in Yosemite the rest of the day. I mean, it's pretty crazy how awesome and open space Alpine County is. I really got to say that. That being said, I have a special promotion from our county, Carson Valley, who I can't do any of this without. I live right here in the Carson Valley. Alpine County's right out my back door. I'm lucky that way, and I know the Carson Valley supports a lot of what Alpine County does. Let me give a shout out to them real quick, and I have 3 questions for Owen. Don't go anywhere, Owen. People want to know about you a little bit here, okay? So let me run this promotion for Carson Valley. So just over that ridge in that last picture, that was Alpine County on the left side there. So Owen, we're gonna have you back in the fall because we didn't even get to talk about fall colors and all the fall trips we can make out here. But I have 3 questions I ask all my guests. They're pretty simple questions, but the first one is: let's pretend your bag is packed for the weekend coming up here. You got to go anywhere in the Sierra you want, including your own county. Where are you heading and what?
Definitely one of my favorites, which you can even see from your county, is Raymond Peak. It is this volcanic, jagged, it's got a great fin on the right side and then a more
Yeah.
prominent 10,000 foot peak in the middle. And that is one of my absolute favorite points, whether I'm coming from the north side, the south side, or straight overland from Markleeville County.
Are you hiking it? Or are you biking? Are you hiking? Or are you a climber? Or are you skiing it in the wintertime? What's your favorite way of doing that?
Hiking it. It feels like every time I find a new route, it is mostly the PCT connecting to it, so there's no biking access, and it's pretty rough. It's
It
definitely
is pretty rough.
rocky, and a lot of traversing and contouring the hill line. But it is, yeah, a absolute gem of a space, and it
You can
wasn't
see a
touched by
long
the
ways.
Tamarack fire. Yeah,
Yeah, you can see a long ways. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's one thing about going up on 88 too. You stop along the road on some of those peaks. You can see a long ways all the way to Echo Peak sometimes, and there's some different routes to take in the county, which is pretty cool. Well, after I go out in a day in Alpine County, I'm always looking for food. I'm a big cheeseburger and milkshake guy. In Markleeville and Sorensen's, I'd like to stop for ice cream at Sorensen's because they have really great hard ice cream coming down. But what's your go-to meal after a good day climbing or out hiking?
definitely. If I make it back in time and the cafe is open, I love their omelets and bagel sandwiches. It's just like enough food. It's got a lot of fresh sprouts, and if you love the meat and cheese or just the eggs, and just a really good filling. If I'm coming back to my own home space, I really have a soft spot for like a good bone broth soup with some fresh veggies. I grow some microgreens and just sprinkling those in.
Nice. I picked up some
It's
bone
perfect.
broth soups for my backpack this year to try out. I'm gonna try them. I haven't done that before, but I kind of thought, oh, that sounds good. I'm gonna take some broth out with me and test that at my backpacking trips.
Yeah, and especially if you get the dehydrated one, just a savory instead of like,
Hmm.
because a lot of backpacking food is usually sugary, which is great for the energy, but
Exactly.
having that savory just, at least for me, balances out the palate so well.
That's awesome. Well, okay, my final question here. We're all gearheads in some way or form. What's the one piece of gear you never leave home without when you're going outside and doing an adventure?
The first aid kit, which has a water filtration in there too, just because after nearly a decade of being a backpacking guide and a few different wildernesses on both coastlines, it is something I found invaluable. It is so important to have, and it
That's
just gives
awesome.
me a greater sense of security.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife is always yelling at me when my first aid kit's not with me because what's funny is that it always seems to be like the trail to Capel's Lake or something like that. That he's like, I don't need a first aid kit for this, and that's the one I'll always cut my leg on. It's like for no reason, got to have that first aid kit with you no matter what's going on. Definitely a good choice in that. So, hey Owen, I apologize that the show's so short because I could talk to you for another hour. I know it because Alpine County has so much to do. Please keep me in mind. Let's do this again later this summer. People would love to hear about the fall opportunities in Alpine County. I hope the death ride goes amazing for you guys this year. Should be beautiful. And as you guys are getting out this summer and you're listening to us, if you want to know more about what I do in Alpine County, just shoot me a note. I love sharing that county, man. There are so many trails, so many different hidden spots, and I'm not kidding you. You want to know where to disappear? I can take you some places or tell you where to go, and you won't see another soul for the whole day long. I promise you. But you'll have a good time doing it. But Owen, have a great day. We wish you guys the best summer, and if I can ever help with anything else, let me know.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, I look forward to coming back to talk about the autumn colors and as our seasons change, the new activities, the new opportunities. Alpine County's true magic.
It is absolute magic. So wherever you're at, I hope the Sierra is in your future. Get out and enjoy it this summer. Shoot us a line, Sierra Summers, hashtag Sierra Summers on social media. Like and share with all your friends. We're trying really hard to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube, Spotify. You guys, we all love you guys on the channels there. Give us a like and shout. Leave us a comment. We'd love to talk to you on that. Other than that, have a great day. Enjoy the Sierra you're at and be blessed.